to build a foundation before I get into the text, because I'm not going to be in the text too long. Proverbs 29:14 said, where there is no vision, the people perish. But happy is the people where there is a law. Which shows me that the vision is a revelation of God's word. What does God do when you and I get in trouble? Who does God send? He sends his word. For if you look in 1 Samuel, the 3rd chapter, the Bible said in that day, there was no open vision. And it said Eli grew old, and his eyes became dim. And because Eli was outside the will of God, there was no vision or revelation in the land. Y'all got to get this. Because the reason why you are struggling in your present circumstance is because there is no revelation or word in your life. Y'all never help me, but that's all right. I'm going to preach myself happy. What do you mean by revelation? It said it was so bad in Israel in the 7th verse, or earlier verse before the 7th, that the light in the temple went out. That light was supposed to reflect an eternal flame. And it was each priest's duty to ensure that the light was lit and that it never went out. It was a play of words that shows you the darkness that surrounded Israel during the time of Eli. You understand that Eli did not discipline his son. As a result, God is saying, I'm going to remove Eli and his family from the priesthood. But I'm going to establish another priesthood, an everlasting priesthood, and alluded to the time of Christ. So while darkness was over Israel and there was no open vision, God saw a man that he could reveal his word on himself to. He chose a little boy by the name of Samuel. So while Samuel was asleep, he heard a voice talking to him, saying, Samuel. Samuel thought he heard Eli. Went to the priest. Eli said, I did not call you. After about the 3rd time, Eli discerned that God was talking through Samuel. And he said, Samuel, the next time you hear the voice, say, speak, Lord, for thy servant hear it. God is trying to talk to some of us in the midst of our dilemma, in the midst of our confusion. There is always a word. There's never going to be that much darkness in your life that the light of God's word cannot shed light on your subject. Hallelujah. Now that I've laid the foundation for the text, let me take you to the background of Habakkuk. Habakkuk was a prophet that was a contemporary of Jeremiah, which means he prophesied during the time just prior and during the Babylonian captivity. Habakkuk, somebody say Habakkuk. His name means wrestler. It means one that struggles with God. This is significant because Habakkuk relates to you and I. He relates to the struggles that we experience. What I like about Habakkuk is that when Habakkuk had a dilemma, had a concern or needed clarity, you know what we do in church when we don't understand. We don't go to the source. We go to, you know, someone else. But the reality is God told me on this morning, he said to tell Greater Refuge Temple, it's all right to complain. have mess in the church. And this mess went unchecked. It was unpunished and unjudged for a long time. So Habakkuk's problem was not with the people. Habakkuk's problem was with God. Pastor, what are you saying to us? I'm saying the reason why you are stuck in your dilemma is that you have a problem, not a vertical. Your problem is not horizontal. No, which one is up? You're right. Horizontal. Vertical is up. Your problem is not horizontal. Your problem is vertical. Y'all still me just a few more moments. What do you mean? He says in chapter 1, he said, God, how in the world you show me these African Americans? And I gotta talk to y'all today. I'm telling you what he said. You show me these Negroes in the church who are always messing up, but they never go punished. It seems like they're getting away with everything that they want to do. God, there is a problem. If I were Pastor Penn, I'll set it all down. But I'm going to tell you all something today. I said the same thing that you said. But God says, leave it a little while longer. Because you got to understand it's not your church. Y'all ever like me today? But it doesn't matter. See, Habakkuk like God. If I was God, I would judge them Negroes. If I was God, I'll call on fire from heaven. But God said, Habakkuk, you don't understand. He said, God, how long? Will you show me violence? How long will you show me injustice? How long will you remain silent and do nothing when same-sex marriage is becoming the law of the land? God, how long will you remain silent when a preacher in Detroit can be mocked in the nighttime with spectators sitting around watching and then do nothing? God, how long will you allow good people to suffer when the wicked seem to prosper? God, how long am I coming where you live? You allow me to be broke. Allow me to struggle financially. When those lascivious folks in Hollywood, when those adulterers and fornicators, when those lies and cheaters, how long, God, would you allow me to suffer when the wicked prosper? God, how long would you allow injustice to go unchecked? God, not only are you silent, but God, you're inactive. And God, I wish you will be the God that I know. But be the God that I think that you should be. They had a conversation that kept on going. And God said, Habakkuk, or he said, put your name there. He said, I'm about to do something. If I told you about it, it'll blow your mind. What are you about to do, God? I'm about to raise up the Chaldean or Babylonian nation. You think that I'm going or leaving stuff unchecked. You think I'm not a God of justice. But you have to understand something. I got everything in the palms of my hand. I've got a plan. I know what I'm doing. But you have to understand that your ways are not my ways. Neither are your thoughts my thoughts. If you really want to get down to the nitty-gritty, my ways are so far above your ways. It's in comparison to the earth and the heavens. In other words, Habakkuk, I got it. I'm doing something. I see the sin of Israel, and I've already got a plan to judge her for her sins. I'm going to raise up Babylon, and Babylon will punish Israel. Now this creates a bigger problem for Habakkuk because he can't understand why a holy God will use unrighteous people to judge a nation that is more righteous than they. How many could understand Habakkuk's dilemma? Because sometimes we compare ourselves to other folks and we say, Lord, I'm better than so-and-so. I'm living this life. I come to Bible study. I'm there for the prayer meeting. I'm there in Sunday school. Surely you can use them to talk to me, to correct or rebuke me. But God says I'm doing exactly that. But don't you worry. When I get through using Babylon to judge you, I'll come back and judge Babylon. Habakkuk has some more problems. And he said, God, I sought you from everlasting to everlasting. How could you use these folks to judge us? And he said a few other things to God. We've not come to our text in Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter, beginning at verse 1. And he said, I'll stand upon my watch, and I will set upon the tower, and I'll watch to see what he shall say unto me, and what I shall respond when I'm reproved. He just knew that God would rebuke him because he spoke out of turn. But you have to understand, he didn't speak out of turn because he was trying to be rude. He spoke out of turn because he did not understand. So God's about to give him a revelation. God's about to give him some understanding. He said, Habakkuk, he said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, and at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. Behold, his soul is not upright, but the just shall live by his faith. What is he saying to Habakkuk and to Greater Refuge Temple? He's saying, first of all, we must have a vision, and the vision must be clear, concise, and written down. Why must I write it down? I must write it down so that when trouble comes, Habakkuk, I'm not going to stop the Babylonian captivity, but write the vision down and make it plain upon tables, that he may have hope that runneth. You have to understand this, that when Babylon come in the land, destruction will be great. Men's heart will faint because of the trouble. But if you have the vision written down, when trouble comes and you're tempted to faint, the vision will sustain you. The vision will let you know that despite what you're going through, that you can count on God to sustain you in the midst of whatever calamity that you are facing. Turn to your neighbor.